Mr. Jha, thank you so much for speaking here with us on India Today. Before you joined in, sir, I spoke with some journalists. I also spoke with an eyewitness. And all of them seem to be saying that this is not a Gen Z asking for social media access protest. This is much more and beyond that. How is the government reading it? How come we've not heard a single statement from the Nepal government so far when 16 people have died, the number only said to escalate and more than 100 injured?
Thank you very much for having me on your reputed channel. And first of all, let me say that it's very unfortunate to have 16 people died in the called peaceful protest of Gen Z. But at the same time, I would like to also mention that you cannot rule out some infiltration of from other. Especially, I would not like to blame the oppositions, but there are few elements they always try to the fish in the muddy. Water, and this is the practice of Nepal's movements. Basically, for last 1 year, you can see that even none of the called peaceful protests or the movement. Concluded with a peaceful, manner. So there has always been some infiltration also. So basically, as the cabinet, the Prime Minister has called the cabinet, but definitely the Prime Minister will bring, there will be some official statements from the government side also. And but for that,
can you tell us so far what is happening here? What is happening here, Mr. Jha? Because everybody is telling us that this is not just about social media bans anymore. There seems to be pent-up anger again in the youth of Nepal asking government some tough questions. And how is it that you're allowing lathi charges, water cannons and tear gas shells to be used, shots to be fired to the degree that 16 people have lost their lives?
I do agree that there are angers, especially in the Generation Z for, the social media ban. You can't say just it's a total ban. The Viber is working, TikTok is working, and the government just asked, other social media platforms to just come and register and acknowledge what government wanted them to follow, because if you enter into any government, the country, you need to follow the government's rule and regulation. This is what the issue was. But that was a little bit twisted, basically. But still, from our party side, we have been telling government, you have to just don't completely ban it, but regulate it. Meanwhile, the Generation Z, announced their movement for today, but unfortunately, it was not totally peaceful. And the unfortunate incidents took place.
But Gopal ji, मैं जानना चाहती हूँ आपसे, and just to be very, very clear, I'm switching to Hindi over here. I want to understand why this sudden change in the government stand of having to ask all the big tech companies to enroll. Has this been a work in the pipeline? Now, we all know that these things don't happen just overnight. There is always a reason. There's always a push and pull that leads to it. What exactly was the government thinking by banning all of them overnight? Businesses are going to be impacted. And I agree with the protester that it's not just about social media. Today, social media controls a lot of other factors, including business and economy.
I do agree that it was not totally peaceful protest, especially for the social media. There were angers, and the young generation, they have angers for everything. What is going on in the country, opportunities, education, and infrastructures, and lots of things. But the question is, since they had announced for the peaceful protest to open, the social media platform. And even we don't know from where the violence started and which element entered into it as an infiltration to create the havoc, in the country, so that the government was forced to take the action against them. But again, say that this is very unfortunate that the minimum 16 youths have lost their life. But I'm sure government would
saying it's unfortunate that people have lost their life is not enough. Calling people losing their lives, these are young people in your country who have died now, asking for access and clashing with the government. It has to be beyond unfortunate. This is not the way governments can respond anymore. But here's hoping that something comes out of that cabinet meeting that has been going on for a while now, and here's hoping that there is better control on the ground as well. Thank you so much for joining us. Let me also cut across to Pankaj Das, who's joining us from Nepal. Pankaj, just explain the current situation to us. सुबह 9 बजे से प्रोटेस्ट चल रहे थे, अब तो शाम हो गई है, अभी तक कोई सरकार की तरफ से कोई बयान नहीं आया है और अभी तक हमें कुछ नहीं पता है कि ये इतना मामला एस्केलेट कैसे कर गया। लोग धरने पर बैठते हैं, प्रोटेस्ट पर बैठते हैं, लेकिन इतना वायलेंट कैसे हो गया ये प्रोटेस्ट?
देखिए ये जो प्रोटेस्ट सुबह 9 बजे से चल रहा था, ये किसी नेता या किसी पार्टी या किसी भी संगठन की तरफ से नहीं हो रहा था। इसलिए कुछ भी बात ये कहना कि ये हिंसक होगा या क्या होगा, यहाँ पे क्या है, अचानक जब संसद भवन में घुसने लगे तो पुलिस के साथ उनकी हाथापाई शुरू हुई। उसके बाद से जो प्रदर्शनकारी थे वो उग्र हो गए। जाहिर सी बात है, जब पुलिस उनको रोकने का प्रयास कर रही थी तो इसके प्रतिकार में प्रदर्शनकारी भी इससे ही उग्र हो रहे थे वहाँ पे। इसके बाद ये सारी सिचुएशन इस तरह से आई कि अभी तक 16 लोगों की मौत हो गई है। जहाँ तक सरकार की बात है तो सरकार कितनी असंवेदनशील है कि इतने घंटे के बाद भी अभी तक सरकार ने कुछ भी बयान नहीं दिया है। कम से कम शांति रखने की अपील तक नहीं की है। बैठकों का दौर जारी है। पहले गृह मंत्री ने सुरक्षा जो प्रमुख है उनकी बैठकें बुलाई है। उसके बाद प्रधानमंत्री के आवास में इस समय सुरक्षा परिषद की बैठक चल रही। उसके बाद कैबिनेट की बैठक होगी वहीं पे प्रधानमंत्री के आवास पर ही। हो सकता है इसमें कुछ निर्णय हो, लेकिन जिस तरह से प्रधानमंत्री के कार्यालय की तरफ से ये बार बार की इस प्रदर्शनकारी में घुसपैठ हो गया। कुछ तत्व है जो इसको ये डीरेल इसको पूरा गाइड कर रहे हैं। ये जेल जी कहीं ना कहीं से जो प्रोटेस्टर है ये सब लोग कहीं ना कहीं से गाइडेड है। इस तरह से जो आरोप बाहर में आ रहे हैं, इससे और ज्यादा गुस्सा जो है युवा पीढ़ी में और ज्यादा बढ़ रहा है और प्रदर्शनों का दौर रुक नहीं रहा है। जबकि सेना को सड़कों पर उतार दिया गया है, संसद भवन को सेना के हवाले कर दिया गया, तब भी वहाँ पे बाहर में प्रदर्शन अभी भी जारी है।
जी पंकज, पूरी जानकारी के लिए बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया। सेफ रहें, ऐसे ही हमें सारी जानकारी लाते रहें। एंड just to sum it up, I think the situation is doesn't seems to be showing any signs of relenting, at least so far. It's been going on all morning. It's evening now. We've heard nothing from the Nepal government, and let's hope things don't go beyond this. At the moment, the situation is that there are 16 people who have lost their lives. At least we are saying so far, because the number could escalate. More than 100 people who have been injured. Again, the number likely to escalate. And the protest is only growing. It was earlier in Kathmandu, which is the capital, and now it's gone to at least 5 more places. Let's see where the story goes from here. And like we've been hearing, it is much more than just the social media ban. There seems to be a pent-up anger in the youth of Nepal that's leading to such violent crashes.